First of all, I want to thank the Booker T. Washington Magnet High School Real Lucero Band Ensemble under the direction of Adam Hall. And now we have Diana Green, Arts in Education Program for the Alabama State Council on the Arts, and members of the Arts Education Leadership Team. Welcome back, everybody.
Hello, welcome back. You all have a new piece of paper on your tables, and it has a list of my wonderful panel members here. We selected the panel to make sure that we had someone representing a different stakeholder group. So you can look at your handout to find out who these people are. If you want bios, it's in your program. So I'm not going to waste time with any of that. The first question I wanted to ask this group was, why did you agree to serve on the Arts Education Leadership Team? And since we're short on time, I already asked them that and they wrote it down, so it's on this sheet for you. The first question I do have now is, how do you see your role as an active participant of the Artistic Literacy Consortium in the next few years? And we'll start with Val.
Okay. Continue to stay involved. What is at stake at this time is Alabama's future in a highly competitive economy that is based on creative thinkers. Build partnerships within the school, community, content area teachers, coaches, and administration. Teach art lessons to content area teachers after school. Let them see the problem solving that starts to happen. Let them feel what it's like. You must collaborate, and you must collaborate with all the arts educators in your school system, or reach out into your county and further if you need to. Be visible. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Okay, keep that artwork coming. Elicit students, parents to assist in setting up shows you can't do by yourself. These are some suggestions that have worked for me. Art night with parents, after school program, I went and teach art lessons. Invite the community stakeholders, school board, city council to visit arts events. Press coverage with your local paper. Work with local organizations. Working with nursing homes and mentoring local banks, businesses to display artwork. Encourage mini concerts, murals in the schools. Work with your local theater, your arts councils, and continue. The more visible you are, the more people take notice and will help you build the program and help you elicit funds for funding. Don't let your foot off the gas. That's huge. Thank you.
Tristan.
So I think the biggest thing I can do to help as a student would be to
Microphone. Put it right up again.
Just hang on to it.
Anyway, I think as a student, what I can do is to get other students and their families involved, and we would help them by helping them identify their needs as the art that they need, and help them with their communities, and help the communities build better art programs, such as doing community centers where children can come and go for free and learn art if their schools don't offer it, and do community sessions to where the parents can work with the students, and the parents can learn to teach their children at home other art things. And they don't have to be Picasso to do art. They can do simple things that help their children learn through different forms of art, whether that be singing, dancing, drawing, painting, building. And the biggest thing is parents working with their children and recognizing what their children need to know and how their children learn. Because I'm a student who learns through visual aids and with art and all that, and that's how I learn. And that's what I think we can do best.
Thank you, Tristan. Molly?
As a college art student, I think something that's very important is empowering art students to kind of be their own advocates. I think a lot of people view art students as somewhat lazy in the college world. I don't know why, because we're there all the time. Truly, 3 all-nighters in a row gets kind of tiring. So something I've had a hard time with is I get a lot of big ideas of what I want to see on my campus and in my community. So I wrote a proposal and met with the dean of the library, and I was like, we are going to get a gallery in the library before I graduate. And then I was asked a simple question of, well, who's going to take care of it? And I realized that we don't, in my community. There's not necessarily a strong group of people. So something I've done personally is try to build the community and get art students to talk to each other, because a lot of the time we're kind of introverted. So getting us to kind of hang out and be our own advocates is really important. I think also something I'm doing personally, I just found out yesterday that I'm going to be interning with the Yellowhammer Learning Project. So kind of, it started as a literacy project and kind of helping students see from a young age that there's a value in the arts. It doesn't all have to be science and math and reading, that you can draw and paint and dance and sing, and that's just as valuable to you as a person as anything else is. So.
Thank you, Molly. Bob?
One of the main things that I can do as a member of this consortium is continue to push for the arts and humanities to be an agenda item. So what do I mean by that? In my different roles that I have the good fortune to play, one is being on the Eufaula City Council and oversight for our education school system in Eufaula. We're fortunate to have a very strong arts music program in Eufaula, but it's always helpful to have someone on the city council when we're allocating additional funds to, one, make sure that the funding is there, but the second thing is to make sure that we incorporate the arts and music into the curriculum, so we understand how the arts and music help develop the whole person. We make that an agenda item in our discussions with the school board, superintendent, and faculty. Another role is I play as co-chair of the Business Council of Alabama's Education and Workforce Development Committee, and just as we did with the high-quality pre-K, we'll make this an agenda item with the Business Council. You've already heard Mary Scott Hunter. She serves on that committee with me. We'll be bringing that up to make this as a part of the agenda for the business community. There's two aspects of that. One is educating the business community on how this can work in developing the students, but also developing a better workforce. So those are two areas. I want to mention that at all times, though, it's important that we work to educate and foster the parental involvement. As we've already heard here, that when the parents are aware of something that's good for their children and how that can help them mature and be nurtured, which the arts and music do, then we can make that move along in a better fashion.
And Randy?
Thank you very much. I'm Representative Randy Davis today, but I'm a four-term legislator. But I would say to you that you have to adopt and adapt and be relentless about teaching the arts. You also have to have credibility in what you're doing, and you need your 2-minute arts and education speech on the elevator or wherever you are. And let me say why that I am here. I'm a classically trained trumpet player, conductor, minister of music, jazz player. Typical weekend for me, Saturday I played a wedding, classical trumpet, did a jazz band that night, directed 3 church services on Sunday morning, handbells at 4 o'clock, and choir at 6:30. Last night I did praise and worship, which is Christians jazz is all that is. They still want to have a little funk in their life, and so we do that. But then on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday I come here and fight for the arts and advocate. On Friday I'll go home and judge a college jazz festival all day. So these kids are for real that we're back here, by the way. Why did I get in politics in 2002? I was tired of having to fight for the arts every day as the music supervisor for the Mobile County Public School System. I supervised art, band, chorus, dance, drama, and driver's ed. And the driver's ed teacher said that the art students were the only ones that could make a left or a right turn. They knew what spatial learning was. But it's nice. I'm back engaged and energized for what we're going to do, and this is going to be very successful. I think we spent a year getting ready. I think we have a year now to advocate, and the next year we'll fund it. And so that's my goal. And I said, I've been with Al Head and Todd Strange. I have a meeting with Governor Bentley at 11 o'clock and at 11:30 David Bronner. And when I go see those folks, I'm talking about the arts. I always talk about the arts. And they know me as the artist in resident in the legislature. So thank y'all for coming.
Thank you, Randy. Allison Dillon Junkin is having health issues and was unable to join us today, but she did send me, she represents a community arts organization, the Arts Council in Huntsville. She says, we've made friends, we've learned about our community, and then introduced them to what we do. We've encouraged collaboration over competition. And to top it off, we remember it's the kids that are the most important. So that's Allison's. The second question I have is, what advice do you have for others like you in your stakeholder group to get on board and help?
I did it online. Yeah, I did.
Did you do your first?
I kind of ran it all
She put
together.
it all together.
You told me 2 minutes. I did it.
You had 2 minutes twice, but that's all right. You did very well.
I did it.
Tristan?
I think the biggest thing I would recommend to somebody else is to find your passion and your reason for love of art and make that the reason you strive to have success. And to join our Artistic Literacy Consortium so you can voice your opinion as to why art matters so much to you like it does to me, and how we can all make a difference for arts education.
Thank you. Molly?
Like I mentioned earlier, you can't get a gallery in your library if you don't have people to manage it. So really connect with your community and try to make that grow as much as you can. I was very fortunate I was raised in Birmingham and then moved to Florence, and both of those are kind of little art hubs. So it's kind of connecting the campus of UNA to the community, because Florence, like, you walk downtown and there's this designer Billy Reed, and he has Butch Anthony works hanging in his show, like hanging with his fashion, and it's just phenomenal. So it's kind of making connections wherever you go and helping build the community. Like Allison said, it's more about connection, not competition. So with that, get organized and help support your local schools if you can, or community centers. I was homeschooled, and so I know that we had a lot of time where we went to the library, yes, but also to the art museum, and there were a lot of, throughout my education, there's been a lot of art, because there are a lot of artists just that chose to invest in it. So I think wherever you are, choose to invest in the education there. Yes, that's really my best advice. And of course, join the consortium, which is just a fun word to say, and I'm looking forward to adding that to my resume.
I agree with what Molly said. All these folks are right on track. First, and that's why you're here, the arts and humanities are personal. You can have science, technology, engineering, math, but they do not create a whole well-rounded person. And if you want to have a whole well-rounded person, music, the arts and humanities give that to you. I'm just going to paraphrase two different folks. One is David Lawrence. He was the editor of the Mobile Herald, and David headed up the effort in Florida for the early childhood development in pre-K. And we were at a meeting at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce some years ago on high-quality pre-K, and David said, it's important to get your governor and legislators in support of your program, and I'll just say in support of the arts. But it's even more important to not wait. Start doing it where you are in your community. That can be done simply on the basis of folks like what Molly's done and what we have here in our representative, who've taken the goal of bringing this opportunity to all our children and not just our children in our home. So that's critical off of that. And I'll have one other quote that I'll give. When I was at West Point, we had the arts and humanities as a part of our whole program, which might seem strange, but they still do. One of the quotes that they used to use there was one from Winston Churchill. During World War II, when they came, his ministers and staff came to him and wanted to cut the arts. And he said, cut the arts? Then why are we fighting this war? Thank you.
Good point. Randy.
I jotted down 4 things that I would say to you is tell your story, the total child, a healthy community, and lifelong learning. And then back that up with the facts and the experiences that you have. Are any of you good teachers? You know, I mean, I really thought I was a great teacher, and I went to contests, and my kids made All-State, and we made superior ratings. And so that kind of quantified that I knew what I was doing. You do the same thing, but I would have wonderful concerts prepared, and the mamas and grandmoms show up, and nobody else. So I was missing something. And the missing part was tell your story. So I went to Disney World and took public relations, Disney style, through Florida State University. Unbelievable. I flipped an empty concert hall to a full concert hall and started selling tickets the next year. So that was helpful. I was then able to compete. There were more math teachers and history teachers and science and social studies teachers in the faculty meeting when I got ready to divvy up the budgets at the high school. So I had to tell my story, and I had to tell it through the children that they were teaching. The normally unruly child, or the kid from the inner city, or the doctor's child who was a spoiled brat and whatever, but they all could possess some type of art learning. And then what it did for the community to bring us all together in the art world. And then, for me, lifelong learning. And I direct the Baldwin Pops and started the Mobile Pops, and I just started the North Mobile Symphony. So, you know, these are things that you can do, and you just have to do it and get out there and go after it.
Thank you. Allison's remarks were, my advice to support the Artistic Literacy Consortium work mirrors the task force work that we did in Montgomery. Build relationships. Build relationships with your local elected officials, business leaders, faith leaders, and educational partners. Reach out. Be active and visible in your community. Sound familiar? Learn about your colleagues and partners, then introduce them to your work. We are all overextended arts leaders, and it is so easy for us to get caught up in our own networks. We have an amazing opportunity before us to change the lives of Alabama youth, but we all have to make it a priority to carve out extra time to make new contacts and bring new people into our networks to join the Artistic Literacy Consortium. So I thought that was a pretty good conclusion, even though Allison is not here. You do have that membership form on your tables, and you may join as an individual if you don't have an organization right behind you, but we would love to have your organizations join. If you look at your plan, you'll see the members that we were able to get in 1 week's time. So we know we have a pretty good momentum going, so hopefully we'll have some more after today. I think we're ready to have some question and answers now from everyone, and it's not just for this group up here, but anyone else who presented. Do you guys want to come up on the stage so that we can ask questions?
We have mics set on either side of the room, those stand-up mics.
Okay.
So if you have a question, if you would go to the microphone, tell us who you are, where you're from perhaps, and then you can direct your question.
And you can direct question to Al Head about the state of the arts if you like, or anything that we've already talked about this morning. Open it up not just to this panel, but and I've always been told that when you ask people to ask questions, thank you. You need to give them at least 2 minutes to think in silence.
I think we also wanted to invite our speakers from earlier today.
Okay, that's what
So while everybody's thinking, I'd like to ask Dr. Kirk to come back to the microphone and tell us about the amazing award that Alabama Public Television just won past week.
Okay, Dr. Kirk.
We got some really exciting news. Alabama Public Television is this year's recipient of the Celebration of Service to America's Children. And we will be presented with the award in D.C. on June 21st. And it's for all the work we do, but primarily for the 3-year project, See Lessons from the American Civil Rights Movement. So Heather Daniels was the executive producer on that project. Many of you have been involved in some way, giving us space, providing us expertise. It was a labor of love, but we're so excited to bring this honor to Alabama.
Congratulations. Thank you. You might have some data information. Yes, go ahead, Al.
If Bob and Randy could maybe address this, I would appreciate it. Over the last number of years, 10 years, with the private sector and business, and Bob's very involved with the Business Council, as he mentioned, and then Randy with fellow legislators, have we made progress, significant progress, or progress with the understanding that the arts seriously contribute to quality of life and all of our economic development that is such a priority, and we have all these strategies and we spend so much time, money, and energy on economic development. From the private sector and then public sector, Randy, with the legislature, are the arts part of that equation, or have we made progress? Have we made a breakthrough there, or is this something that is still, very much way down the list on the priorities of public and private sector?
Al, your point that you said about the glass being half full and halfway there, Governor Winter's description, I think that's very applicable to the business community. One of the challenges we have in the business community is they tend to focus on short-term returns and impacts. They like stability. And it's has been a real process, one, to get them involved with education. What they want is to have products come out of the school system, children, workforce, that are ready to go to work, and they don't have to spend a lot of money and time training them. That we now realize that because of the changing workforce and the requirements in the workforce, that the business community has to communicate much more closely with education, and thank goodness for our State Board of Education and Tommy Bice and members of the legislature like Representative Davis here. That's been coming along. So we need to work harder on that. I will say another part of the private sector that has been coming along fairly well is our foundations, like Alabama Power Foundation, Protective Life. Some of those folks are stepping up more and more to help move this along, but that's part of the effort we have to continue.
Let me just say that one of the things as our community is changing now, from a college standpoint, we all know what the baby boomers are, and Generation X, Generation Y, and now with so many kids having tablets to take to school, we call those the IYs. But millennials, essentially, you need to know what millennials are and how they think. Politicians need to know what they are thinking as well. And they have a strong gravity towards the arts. Now, do we market it? Do we capitalize on it? But they're the next folks who will take this to the next level. In a economic development world, a company is coming to Montgomery to look at Montgomery, or they're coming to Mobile or Huntsville. It's no longer are they looking at the school to say, am I getting a workforce there? They're looking at the total community. Are there places to live? What's the arts and cultural community? And assessing a full body of work as to where they want to establish their plant. In Mobile, ThyssenKrupp, which was a $4.5 billion company, the Mobile Symphony made the difference. That was the differential in scoring for it coming to Alabama or not. Airbus, which just flew its first plane last week in Mobile, the same thing. The museum, the Gulf Quest Museum, the Mobile Art Museum, and the Mobile Symphony and Mobile Opera were the points that our city gained scores in. So many other cities didn't have a score component there, and essentially when the headhunters got down to the bottom, they said, okay, we're looking at these places. And so I think business communities should now look at the total well-being of the community, not only universities, schools, hospitals, but art is a big piece of it.
Any further questions from other presenters this morning? Four other presenters. Did I say from? Oops. Everybody set? Oh, thank you. I do want to say one thing since we have a little extra time, and that is I have some advice for everyone, and that is as you're planning and doing and making things better for students, don't forget to talk to the students and ask them what they want. Because kind of what Randy was just saying about the millennials, etc., we need to know from them. And I'm so proud of these students that we've had on our team. And when we start regional efforts, I want every regional group to get their own student leadership team. It's very important. They met side by side with the regular team. We did not keep them separate. We thought we were going to do that. But they were so valuable in the first meeting that we met together that we kept them together. They are very valuable and they're very smart. And they can really give you a lot in your planning. So thank you.
So that's a great segue into what I was going to tell you all. We are actually live streaming this event on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and just search for Alabama Alliance for Arts Education, you'll be able to observe it for a while. But more importantly, tweet it out to your friends, post it on Facebook, use hashtag 2016 AAC for the 2016 Arts Advocacy Conference, and let's further expand our reach. So thank you.
We're going to take a teensy little break here and rearrange the stage before we hear from Dr. Deborah Barnhart. So just a little quick 10. See you back.